Hello and welcome, everyone. Welcome to DevChatter. Today is Tuesday, May 8th. Suddenly, music from nowhere. Yes. We have intro music at the beginning, which gives you the chance to adjust your volume. So, get you a nice intro, hopefully gets everybody hyped up and ready for some coding. So today is, as I was saying, Tuesday, May 8th, and good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are in the world. Hopefully you're having a great day regardless of the day or time that it happens to be for you. We programmers seem to have to care more about time than just about anybody else, since our code pretty much depends on it. Sushinator, awesome. I assume you were lurking around in C# Fritz's stream, and this one started up. So, and Twitchloff is already starting the uprising there, because he must have seen the tweet from James Chambers. For those of you that don't know, in addition to being a programmer, James Chambers, he and his wife own a bakery, and I guess they were doing something he tweeted about what was going on, but he is not going to be able to make it. They have some kind of shipping issue. I assume it's something on the border that they're trying to figure out. So, anyway, in case you didn't guess from his name, he goes by the moniker Canadian James. James is Canadian, so when he orders things, they have to cross the U.S. border a lot of the time, and I guess something's been caught there, and he has to go deal with that. So you gotta love borders. Anyway, so we should get started here. We're going to be writing some C# code today, as usual. Our plan is to continue on with the bot. However, what we wanted to get started with when James was here is we wanted to take a look at adding 2.1 stuff. Now, I might do that without him. I did post in a couple of places saying that we were going to do that. So we might still use 2.1. And I also, you may have noticed, neither CodeRush nor ReSharper are currently enabled on this instance of Visual Studio. I brought in the IntelliCode stuff, and so I wanted to turn off ReSharper and CodeRush just so that we could see what IntelliCode does. So I don't want them interfering with each other. So for anybody that doesn't know, IntelliCode is a new extension that Microsoft just announced this week. And so it's here. This is the preview version of it. And I'm not sure exactly what it's going to do, but I installed it. We're going to take a look. I saw some of the stuff that Microsoft said about it, but I would love to see what we can get out of this thing. Sadly, since James is not here, it means we're not going to be using the VS Live Share preview today. Obviously, we were using the private preview before, but this is the public one that all of you could now download also. Async Awake, there's a stream delay again? There shouldn't be. Okay, so anyway, so I'm hoping IntelliCode is good, and VS Live Share we should use on Thursday because we have another guest on Thursday. So James Chambers' appearance on the stream, we just moved it back a week, so he will be here next Tuesday. And if he misses that one, I'm going to drive up to Canada, like the 25 hours or something that it takes to get to where he is from where I am. And man, I'm going to, I'm not really going to do that. I'm probably going to stay right here and be like, come on, James, what are you doing? Yes, Funkmaster F, I would recommend that you install the new VS Live Share. Actually, I would recommend that to anybody that works with any remote people. Check out the VS Live Share preview. It is very nice. We've used it here on stream a couple of times, and it makes working with a remote person way easy. Okay, so, jumping in. So, yesterday, we were working on some changes to the way that we track command usages in our project. So essentially the idea is we wanted to make it so our project could leverage the tracking of which commands it uses to handle cooldowns better, because we're working on the bot that is in our chat channel, and when we call commands on it, it would be important that we don't have them getting triggered far too often. So if you take a look at that and run, say, like the help command, for example. The help command is a very simple one, and we probably don't care if people are running the help command, like, fairly often, but we obviously don't want someone spamming the whole chat with the help command, because obviously you could just type help, you know, and then another message, and you can spam it as long as you aren't doing the same help message repeatedly. So, anyway, so we want to try to limit that a little bit. And obviously we have a protection in place that prevents someone from triggering any command a whole bunch of times. So if you do like 3 commands in a row within, say, a half a second because you're spamming it somehow, we don't want those to go through either, but we already have a protection from that. And it leverages the same code. So that's what we were working around yesterday. Today, even though we were already working on that, I want to jump back to the master branch and I want to take a look at 2.1 because Microsoft dropped the release candidate of .NET Core 2.1 yesterday. They also showed us what 3.0 is going to look like, and I am psyched up for 3.0. I don't know about the rest of you, but I was already psyched for 2.1, so I'm just glad this one's here. 3.0 will be a while away, but let's go ahead and reload. We're back on the master branch, and let's go ahead and make a branch for NetCore 2.1. Sure, that's probably good enough. Name's not perfect, but it's enough so that we've got something and we can keep things separate. Sushinator, to answer your question about more different OS, I am hoping that everything they've talked about with adding .NET Core support to things like WPF and WinForms is just a stepping stone towards having a new cross-platform UI framework for building applications that would run, say, on Windows, on Mac, on Linux, and I would then say that it's probably going to be some kind of, I would hope for a trimmed down version of what Xamarin is. And by that I mean like being able to go even on, being able to do mobile development using the same tech. But I don't know whether or not that's going to translate. Because if that means it's going to get bloated and weird, I don't want that either. So we'll see what they come up with, and hopefully what they get us is nice. Because I like .NET Core so far. Pretty much everything about .NET Core I'm a big fan of, and the way that they did it. So if you haven't taken a look at .NET Core yet, I highly recommend that you do that. Okay, so to get started, right now in this branch, we're basically just going to try this out. If things seem to work well, we're probably going to make a switch to .NET Core 2.1 for all of our stuff, because we got a release candidate with a go-live license. So the assumption there is that any changes they make after this point, before like the final shipped version of 2.1, are going to be minimal. And there is no way at all that they could possibly, give us a bunch of breaking changes that make it hard to switch later. They've never done that before. Anyway, just kidding. They're totally going to break everything on us, but that's fine. Go live license means it should still be good enough. Core RT, I didn't see anything. Cross-platform UI, looking forward to. Yeah, Async Awake. I'm really hoping for a cross-platform UI. And if it's the same minds that were getting us .NET Core, then I have high hopes for it. So, let's see. I want to do a web app for now. And now the reason I'm touching web app here is because we were waiting to do a web app or any kind of more advanced UI for the chatbot until we had .NET Core 2.1. So now that we've got it, we can take a look at this. And specifically the reason we were waiting on this is that .NET Core 2.1 is where the .NET Core version of SignalR lives. So for anybody that doesn't know, SignalR is essentially a tool for establishing a consistent connection between your front end and your back end server. So essentially we can then do a web page where it's just, you know, actually communicating with the back end instead of doing something. Yeah, I'm explaining SignalR poorly. Don't worry about that. Hang on. I have a cat that is messing with my green screen. If he knocks that on me, man, I am going to be one unhappy camper. You guys probably can hear my cat, too. Let's see. So, Web Application 1 is a terrible name. Let's do DevChatter. Whoa. Hang on. There we go. Yeah, here we go. See, this is the cat. See? Yes, Sushinator. SignalR Core is basically what everybody's been waiting for on 2.1. So, Sushinator, real-time communication between client and server. Yes. So what Sushinator's explaining is pretty good there. And the reason he's saying it mostly via WebSockets is because if it can't use a WebSocket, it will fall back and do another form of communication that's not as efficient. But that's the idea. Is it takes that work away from the developer so that we can get that nice communication in place. So wonk. All right. So hopefully the cat stops causing trouble. Yeah, exactly. Yep, as Twitchloft says, it will fall back to other means if it can't use WebSockets. Okay, so devchatter.bot, and then I'm just going to say .web for now, which I think should cover it pretty well. Wait, what? Okay, that's fine. Web application. That's an interesting one. A Razor class library. That actually, like, I want to dig into this at some point. That's not one we're going to do right now, but I do want to find out what's in that. Because that actually sounds really awesome. Reusable Razor stuff. Hey! How's it going? I know that dude that just said hi in chat there. You finally made it to the stream. Welcome. Alright, so when I set this up, I can set this up to have authentication to begin with, but I think I'm going to leave it off because at least in V1, I think we're just going to run this program locally. And then if we need to add auth later, it's actually not that hard to add the authentication in after the fact if you want to do that. In fact, what you can do is you can just create another project and just yank all the pieces out and move them over. So it's easier than you think. So, all right. Wait, don't click the class library, probably Azure Functions or some weird... Sushinator, yeah. Well, yeah, I'm not going to pick it right now, but I'm expecting it's going to be pretty cool. All right, so let's go ahead and jump in, grab a web project, and we'll take a look at what we get out of this one. So this will be a 2.1 RC web project. Pretty standard. This looks like the same old overview. If there's a change, it's not significant enough to notice. And then the next thing I want to take a look at in here, let's go ahead and open this up. It should just be, yep, Net Core App 2.1. And what I like about this is I'm not seeing a bunch of references to things that are like... So it's just doing, you know, ASP.NET Core.app. We didn't get like a whole bunch of things that are like, you know, -RC final or anything weird like that on there. So I do like that they kept that stuff out of there. Making the project references is going to force me to update everything else to Net Core App 2.1 probably. But we'll find that out in a sec. Oh, let me stop the bot for a second, everybody. So we'll go ahead and do that. And the bot is the one that's currently set to run, so when I run the project, we shouldn't run into anything there. Let me catch up on what was going on in chat. Yes, Twitchlop's been waiting on SignalR to become. Oh, and thank you for the follow, Cracker40. Yeah, I think everybody has been waiting for SignalR core, essentially. DevChatter, I have a weird question. What are the odds of me hacking my school's Wi-Fi? I think is in. Depends on how much you know about it. So I haven't looked into that kind of thing in a long time, and I'm obviously not going to give recommendations on that kind of thing on a stream. But I believe it's possible. So, as in, it was possible in the past, and schools aren't exactly known for awesome security. So, okay. So now I need to make our references that we've got in here. In theory, this project does work, and we can... There you go. But social engineering is actually pretty easy. Okay, so let's go ahead and add a reference to the core project, the infrastructure project, and the Twitch project, which are the ones that we would need in order to do this. Now it's going to yell at us about this. Yes, ping localhost. That'll do it. I don't know. You might be surprised. Good point, Munzie. I didn't think about that. There might be some kind of issue where they really get upset about that. Okay, so that actually built just fine, so that's pretty cool. I want to jump through each of these old projects and make them Netcore 2.1s also, because I see no reason not to just bump everything to Netcore 2.1, because I think we can get away with it. So let's go ahead and try this, take a look, see what happens. And if it works, then we're going to do our first commit over in this project. So the other ones, because of the order that I did, because I got to the core project first, these other ones that were depending on it are now depending on one that's a higher framework than they are, so that's why they're getting upset. But we will have that fixed momentarily. Did I get coins when I follow? Oh, yeah. Yeah, see, Sushinator, you got plenty of coins. Yeah, exactly, Munzie. School networks are not that secure. Trust me, when I was in school, I helped maintain one. Let's see what those red squigglies are about. Oh, whoops. I adjusted to net standard 2.0, didn't I? Or 2.1, which is... That is a good point, because the net standard one we want is still that. That's, yep, switching back, Brendan, switching back. Switch it back. Don't do crazy stuff. All right, let's do a quick clean and a rebuild of this. I'm gonna close down all that junk there. Let's do a clean rebuild. Let's get rid of all this old stuff and do a rebuild. Edit this. Oh, yep, that'll break it. That's what happened. Wondered about that one. Probably, but also participate in Git. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so eventually we are going to use the coins for other stuff. You would just switch off if this ever happened to you? Paula Bean, what are you talking about? And Root Guy likes Emacs, I'm not surprised. Yeah, Munzie's correct. So if you are someone that wants to learn about security, you're better off, we'll say, hacking into your own things. Because hacking into a any kind of government building, which usually schools are, that can get you in some trouble. And so can hacking into private stuff, for that matter. So, okay, so we are building. Everything is technically on 2.1 now. So, I am going to say, let's just make sure nothing crazy got in here. Okay, so it gave me an app settings. Gave me, like, the set of app settings stuff. We're going to need to give it user secrets eventually, because we're going to want to shift everything over to it. Gave us the basic about pages, which I'm fine checking in for now. I don't mind checking in the startup app, because I can easily get rid of it. That doesn't look bad. Okay, cool. So we're going to go ahead and commit this. Adding web project and convert to 2.1. Alright, I got in that rock, paper, scissors game. DevChatter also does an engineering attack have anything to do with dictionary attack. Social, I assume you mean a social engineering, and dictionary attacks and social engineering attacks don't really have much to do with each other. I guess unless, you know, through social engineering you found out that a dictionary attack was the best way to get something, but either way, it's... wait. Someone posted a link? Munzie posted a link? Oh. Yeah, the bot will catch you on that one, Munzie. What did you want to link, Munzie? Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, the bot just prevents anyone from posting links for security reasons. Yep, Sushinator is correct. Okay, so, whoops. Yeah, Twitch TV's not a whitelisted domain there, root guy. That way people don't hop in here and promote their own channels. So, because if we whitelisted that one, that's all that would happen all day long. Okay, so, we have this running. So here's the annoying thing. For anybody that's not run a web project, I like the fact that they get us a nice framework if you don't choose the empty project, but then they give me a bunch of stuff that I really don't want, that feel, you know, that I then just nuke right at the beginning, which are things like, where is it? In the www root, you end up with like these banner SVGs that are in the, they're in this big banner that's got a... here, I'll show you. Let's just run it. We'll take a look at what this gets us. View, that's what I wanted. What browser is this going to open? Oh, good, it got the right one. Cool. So Nightbot is just parsing for links there, root guy, and it's actually not very good at it because a lot of things... oh, man. Cookie policy stuff. Thanks, Europe. Love those all over the internet. Alright, let's see. The kids are not too, they're just going to get in the Wi-Fi. Yeah, I would still recommend caution there, FPS. I'm guessing Spartan. Hello. Greetings. My name's Brendan. Welcome to DevChatter. Okay, so our basic project is up and running, and looks like this works, so cool. We don't need basically everything that's in this project, and I know I could have chosen empty, but I like that it gives me some of the things, so, because I do like that it got me an error page and a couple of other things. So, let's go ahead to the index page, and I am going to start chopping out things, because I don't like this carousel, and I don't like this set of stuff either, so goodbye. Okay, that's an improvement. Now when I refresh this, oh yeah, that's better. That's way better. Check that out, everybody. Isn't that nice? Nothing on here. Okay, cool. So now I want to, let's clear the index page. Next thing I want to get rid of, since I got rid of that carousel, there is no reason to have those SVGs anymore, so let's get rid of those. I'm going to leave the images folder, though, because I like the structure there. I think it's a good structure to have. So we're going to leave that one in place. Yeah, in general FPS, I would recommend caution on that, because even if you think the odds of getting caught are low, the price for getting caught is pretty bad. So here's the weird part. So I love the way that .NET Core projects work. For anybody that doesn't know, they are way, way simplified from what they were when we were using full framework. So this is the entire project file, and they used to include the exact relative path to every file that was in them. But now what they do is, if you exclude an item, or if you have an empty folder, that's basically all that it will put in here. And the nice thing is, if I add something into the images folder, so just watch for a second. I'll just put a class in here for now. And then if we go back to this project, you'll see that it automatically got rid of the folder. So no extra effort in doing that. It gets rid of it when it's not needed and puts it back when it is. So it's pretty good about that. I'm a big fan. And let's go ahead and do this. So remove unused images. Get that in there. Now the next thing that I want to take a look at on this project is this. We want to have an overlay on here. So right now our bot is still running as a console application. We're going to need to shift that logic eventually over into the web project, but that's going to be a little while. Luckily, none of the code we're doing in any of our other branches that we've got around really does anything with the actual console application that we use. So what that means to us is that we don't have to worry about any merge conflicts as a result of this, because we've got our code pretty well factored at this point. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at this. So I want to create a new page. For now, I'm just going to make a general overlay page. So the couple of things I'm thinking about are this. So if you guys see all this space that's on the screen, we want to be able to modify what's happening up there using our bot. So that means we need to add a web project, and we're going to basically put that whole web page covering my entire screen that you guys see streamed here. So let's go ahead and do that. So Razor page name is going to be overlay. We're going to have a page model class, and we want it to use our layout page. No, we do not want it to use our layout page. We want an empty layout here, because we don't want to have a bunch of links on the top of this. We want this page to like really be empty. Okay. So this is what we get when we run this. This is the basic wheel spin. What are you talking about? So because I didn't choose a layout, you'll notice that it starts off, makes this a full HTML page, so I have the whole thing, so there's no layout around it. So that means I don't have things like the top navigation or anything like that that would come by default on those pages if I were to just run one. So if you take a look at this whole section up here, that's coming from the layout, as is this. I don't want those to appear on the overlay page. I don't know, Willspin. I don't know why you can't see chat. Okay. Anyway, so this has a title of overlay, and I am fine with that. What we want to do now is mess with the body at some point. So let's go ahead and do a quick commit of this. So this is adding an overlay page. Oh, see, that's interesting. It now has, it added in a reference to the code generation.design piece, which I'm betting is the one that does the templates for the Razor pages. I'm fairly certain that's what that one is. And what's cool about that is you'll notice that this one grabbed an RC1 final on it. That'll disappear once we get rid of the RC and we're actually on the released version. But I'm betting that's what that one is. So, adding an overlay page. So this is called a Razor page. For anybody that isn't familiar with Razor pages, it is kind of like crossing the web forms concept of you've got a file and a backend per page URL with the decoupled nature of MVC. So that's probably the best way to explain how this works. And it is very, very nice. Big fan of this. So if you haven't taken a look at Razor pages, you really should. I like it a lot. Okay, so we have our overlay page. Now I want to go and add this. Yeah, exactly. As Funkmaster F says, Razor pages is super nice. And yeah, I actually want to connect this with Blazor, Funkmaster F. So the goal here, so we're using Vue.js on our game tracker project. So we have two projects on this channel. For anybody that's new here, I do want to mention that all of our code is out on GitHub, so you can actually go check that out, and you can send us pull requests, issues, anything like that. You can contribute to the project, and we have a number of people that actually do contribute to our project. Well, projects plural. But specifically the ones that I'm talking about is we have Game Tracker and we have the DevChatter bot. And Game Tracker is, obviously, I haven't written the read before. We've only worked on it once, I think. And we need to do another stream where we're working on it soon. But the Game Tracker project is going to use Vue.js for its front-end JavaScript. But then on the DevChatter bot, the front end we're going to use for this, we're thinking of using Blazor. So we think that'll be fun, and we're figuring since it's running locally only for now, that's why we're gonna run Blazors, because we're thinking if you're running this, you can run it, and we're not trying to be supported everywhere and everything like that. So async awake. Put .NET websites like Razor pages all require more expensive hosting than regular websites, correct? No, async awake. The specific thing is that, one of the advantages of using .NET Core is the fact that you can actually run this. It doesn't even have to be Windows. So it does not need to be more expensive hosting. You can actually get this running on fairly cheap hosting. And the resources used by .NET Core stuff is way less. So if you're paying based on the amount of resources you're using, then it's definitely cheaper to use this approach. FPS. Yes, I have watched Mr. Robot. yeah, async awake. So the Razor pages stuff, basically that just means new version. So you just need to not be on the old stuff. But because it works .NET Core, it's, can be hosted in a lot of different places. Okay. On Google Cloud, it's more expensive. Have to use Flex Engine or whatever it's called. Yeah. So there might be some instances where you do have to use more expensive hosting. I'm not 100% on that. Because some services might make it more expensive, but in theory it shouldn't be more expensive. The hosting that I use does not make it more expensive to use. So obviously wherever you're hosting is going to be different rules for what they actually set up for it. So okay, let's go ahead. I'm going to grab this URL. Here's what I'm going to do. I am going to put this, let's see, we have DevChatter alert. Is this the one? /overlay. So let me load the overlay page first. Well, why did we get an error? Why is there an error? Did I not build or something? There we go. I probably didn't build or something like that. Okay, so what I'm doing now is I'm going to put this page on our screen. So it's going to be up on the screen, and you won't see it because there's nothing on there. Okay, so in theory, that overlay page is on there. Now I'm going to have to refresh it at some point before we actually get it to show up, but that's fine. Okay. Let's do a couple of things now. Yeah, if you have very low amounts of traffic, then you can get away with a lot of things. Okay, so let's go ahead and we're gonna do another reference on here, but this time we're gonna add a NuGet package that we're hoping exists. I don't know if it's gonna find our SignalR one or not. Or oh, maybe I have to include pre-release for it. Let's do this. SignalR. Oh, hey, there we go. Because we searched for this before because we were looking at this. But we want specifically something that has come out in the past week. The question is whether they gave us a... Yeah, see, Cracker40 is pointing out that... So one of the nice things is that you get Linux hosting now. So if you are worried about the cost of hosting, that is one of the advantages that you now have for .NET Core that you didn't have with full framework.NET. You always had to be on Windows before, but now you can get away with being on Linux hosting, which is often cheaper. Oh, and let me go do this also. There we go. Ubuntu VM on Windows machine is king. Yeah, the same concept's going to apply though, even if that is from 2016. Okay, so let's jump in here and see NuGet config. Did they rename this or something? Or is it just now? Oh, maybe this one lists .NET Core as an option now? SignalR.js, no. .NET Core Linux. Core Register. SignalR Core in the past, like, 24 hours. Come on, guys. Yeah, they made this available, but now where's my SignalR? Okay, this one seems to imply that it's going to have it. But I want it for Core SignalR is now available. Yes, Bitlaw, that is absolutely correct. Ah, thank you, Sushinator. You are the man. Or, you know, appreciate it. That's all I needed to see, was that. There we go. Install. And the nice thing is, Sushinator, Nightbot didn't think that was a link. Occasionally, it's not incredibly stupid. So yeah, Async Awake is correct. Hop over on the Discord, especially if you want to chat with anyone else in here about stuff. The Discord is a great place to continue chattering. Ha ha ha. Okay, cool. So now we should have that on here. I actually have not played around with SignalR Core yet, and I know they made some changes to it, so I'm... Yeah, I know, Sushinator, it's not a link, but you wouldn't believe the things that Nightbot thinks are links. Like, it gets really confused when we put namespaces in chat. It is not very smart. So, we'll see. Okay. Let's see. So, we need to create a hub somewhere, something in this thing, so... I don't exactly know where I want to put it. I don't remember the recommendations for this right now off the top of my head. I am not planning on building the whole, like, SignalR communication setup here. I just want to make sure that things are working, so we're just testing out and looking at what we've got in 2.1 and seeing what's available and what works. No. What is it? We said SignalR and then hub. So I turned off ReSharper for today. I would normally be running ReSharper. It would do like all these little things for me, like pulling out those types and everything and figuring out what I actually wanted to have in here. But I turned it off because I wanted to have IntelliCode running. So we're going to spend a little bit of time playing with 2.1, but then we're probably going to get back to work on actually writing some code. And we're going to leave this sitting for just a little bit because this is what we were going to work on with James Chambers. And I will either continue this on Thursday with our guest then, or we'll continue it next Tuesday. One or the other. We'll see. What's in this one? Anything interesting? On connected async, on disconnected async, so those are interesting ones. And let's see what else is in here. This dot. Clients, context, groups. Not bad. Spartan, thanks for following. Welcome to DevChatter. I will assume based on your follow that you are enjoying. So, okay, cool. So, yep, that seems to be working. We can get that wired up as a .NET Core dependency, it looks like. What's our warning about? Ooh, we're getting a warning over this? An Owen warning? Oh, it restored that using... That's weird. It pulled it using Framework 4.6.1 instead of using .NET Core App 2.1. I wonder why it did that. That's a little strange. Huh. We'll have to take a look at that one. Adding SignalR. Adding SignalR dependency. C# TV, welcome. Thanks for following. I assume based on C# TV, meaning that you are also a C# streamer. You are not using the RC version. Ah, thank you, WTF Blub. WTF, yeah. I'll find you again next time. I have to run, but enjoy your day. Thanks, Spartan. Enjoy your day, too. Appreciate you stopping by. So, yeah, we have been doing this C# stream now for over 3 months, so I'm actually really impressed by the growth of the stream and pretty much how awesome you have all been. So, yeah, so what was I saying? So let's go ahead and take a look at the reference here. So we are not using the RC version of this. So what I think we want to do is open up the manage NuGet packages, and we are going to look. So we're including pre-release, huh? I figured include pre-release is what would actually get us that. Hey! Thank you, Funkmaster F. Greatly appreciate it. Please now enjoy your DevChatter hype emote. So you can now have a dinosaur whose arms are too short to hold up his own hype sign. So thank you for the subscription. Much appreciated. And that was a Twitch Prime subscription, so that cost you nothing except having Amazon Prime already. Let's see. Is Reamer on Kali Links? I do not know the question to that FPS. And C-Sharp TV, can someone explain Onion architecture for ASP.NET Core? I see that I would have 4 layers. Explaining Onion architecture or ports and adapters or hexagonal architecture or clean architecture, whatever you want to call it, is something I can explain at some point. I could do a workshop on it, like an architecture workshop. Root Guy, it is actually exactly the same. So a streamer gets the exact same amount of money, whether it's a Twitch Prime subscription or whether it's a regular subscription. So no difference, except the nice thing with the Twitch Prime subscription is that anyone that has Twitch Prime or Amazon Prime basically gets a free subscription to any Twitch channel they want every month, and so it costs them nothing. So that's the nice thing about the Twitch one. Okay, so this one didn't pull in that, and so it didn't see, so yeah, there is no RC one of that, so let's go ahead and check the internet for where that one is and what it should be, because we want to have RC1. I find it kind of weird that we didn't get that. And thank you for the Twitch Prime subscription, Sushinator. Much appreciated. You now can also enjoy the DevChatter hype emote. So there's just a hype train going on right now. So greatly appreciated, everyone. Okay, so this package is not listing the RC one. I mean, I could go grab it, but where is the RC? Yeah, no problem, Sushinator. I love our little dinosaur guy, to be honest. I mean, of course I do. I'm the guy that chose to do the little dinosaur guy. But he's fun. Yeah, I'm not seeing it. Okay, so I won't worry about that one just yet, because I'm not seeing an update for it. So we will leave that one alone and come back to it. That's a bummer. Maybe you don't need a reference at all. I think you might be right, but I was pretty sure I do need a WTF blub. I didn't think it was included, but I will try removing that reference and we'll see what happens. So we'll remove the reference to SignalR core and try building. We'll see if the hub blows up, then we know we needed it. Oh, Blub called it. Nice. Nice. Good call there. Yeah. There isn't a new version. So that's really cool. Rename type to class? No, go the other way. Go the other way. Okay, that'll be our foo hub. Alright, cool. There we go. Good call. Good call. Yes, FPS. So, and I will say, I think you end up with a lot of people with a lot of different experience levels, and one of the things I love about our stream is that I am not the only person that answers questions, which is good. I think it is awesome, and it's also a good thing within the community to answer each other's questions, because one of the best ways to learn is to teach. So explaining a concept to someone else reinforces it for yourself as well. They have the RC version of SignalR. It's actually in the 2.1 SDK files. Awesome. So that's really nice that they actually just built it in now. We don't have to pull that one. Which I assume means that it's not really in the SDK necessarily, but it's actually in this. So let's scroll down and see. Yep, there it is. See? So it's inside of the ASP.NET Core app one. So that's one of the neat things about the way that they package this up, is we could add all the individual dependencies that we need here, or you can include the full ASP.NET Core.app, and it just pulls in all of them. So that's actually where those came from. So in our CS.proj file, it's this line that is including SignalR. So, yep, they do that. So if that was one of the big changes with, I think it was .NET Core 2.0 is the one that switched them to all being in like those giant packages. I don't think it was that way by default in ASP.NET Core 1, but I could be wrong. I might be misremembering when that switch happened. It might have been like the final version of ASP.NET Core 1 that did it. It's always hard to remember exactly on those things, but let's go ahead, since we got this working, we're going to say connect SignalR correctly, because now we actually did it right. And no, I'm not going to get rid of the old commit, because I don't really care. Heck, I might even squash what we've got so far into a single commit onto the master branch of this, just because this really is like just adding that new web project, and I might want to hide some of these other things, so I might do some squashing of stuff, essentially lying in Git and pretending we did everything right to begin with. So one of the things I like about Git is you can lie and look like you're an awesome developer that makes no mistakes. None of us are awesome developers that make no mistakes. All developers make mistakes. Even John Skeet made a mistake once. Hopefully you guys caught that. Okay, so we've got that wired up. We're using MVC. Anything interesting going on in here? We can wire this up to be using... we might switch to... I think we can either wire up AutoFac to work in here or leverage this instead. We'll see. But we're definitely going to switch to that kind of a model. And then the next question that we want to get to is, do we want to start adding configuration pages? That's a good question. Either way, I don't think we're going to tackle that one today, because I want to get back to something that we can work on that is not what I'm supposed to be working on with the guys I'm pairing with. So, John Skeet, the Chuck Norris of C#. Exactly, Sushinator. And good correction there, Twitchloff. He does not spell his name with an H. Okay, so we were working on this yesterday. So let's go ahead and... Oh, the solution project did not reload. No. There we go. Sushinator, it's okay. I have a feeling John won't be upset. I bet he's used to that. Alright, let's go ahead and stop the bot and restart it. Whoops. Let's go ahead and get this going. Propagated, welcome. Welcome back. And the bot is back in, everybody. So say hello to the bot. Hello, world. Speaking of hello, world, that if we ever do manage to get to partner status with Twitch, I'm going to get us a hello world emote as well. So, thank you, Propagated. Yes. How come when you talk computer science with people outside the industry, their eyes glaze over? Root Guy, that's because they do not understand computer science. I am not John Skeet. Nope. Okay. So what we were working on yesterday is the... Oh. Son of a... I forgot. What is it when I'm on this? There it is. Command cooldown tracker? There we go. Had to remember how to do that in Visual Studio. I am so used to all my other tools that you gotta think of, like, wait a minute, what's the key to search files by default in Visual Studio? I don't use it. Okay. Yeah, people that are not already really psyched about computers tend to not find programming all that interesting, but people that program look at it, it makes sense to us, so we find it interesting. And that goes not just for programming, but for other aspects of computer science as well. Because I do want to make sure that we distinguish between computer science and programming, because they are different. Okay, so we have the command cooldown tracker. It keeps track of the command usages, and what we had set up last time... Where are my comments? Didn't I add like 3 comments somewhere? Maybe it was in the command handler. Where are my 3 comments? There they are. Got it. Found it. Imperial 2014. Hello. Welcome. I put these in here so we had a reminder of what we were doing so we could work on this when we got back to it. So check for any type of cooldown and respond accordingly. So basically what I was thinking here is we want to call out and see, are there any cooldowns? So for now I'm going to put the method inside the command handler. That's not where it belongs, but that's the easiest place to do it. Imperial, I'm doing pretty well. How are you? It's a Tuesday, so I can't complain that much. It's no longer Monday, although I enjoyed my Monday anyway because I got a good stream in. Yes, BitLaw is correct. Doesn't have to be interesting to appreciate it. Without PageRank, there is no Google. Alright, so here's what I want to do. I want to get any cooldown, get active cooldowns. Okay, now what I want to do when I'm getting active cooldowns, there's 2 types. There's cooldown for the user, because the user just ran a command, and then the other cooldown type is that user for a specific, or just a specific command and not related to that user necessarily. So, and then there's also the concept of a cooldown for the specific user can't run that same command again. So we want to be able to handle all 3 types of cooldowns. So what we want to pass in here is who the active user is and what command they're trying to run. So I'm going to pass those in. So the first thing I want to pass in is e.chatUser. And then the other thing I want to pass in is the command that they're trying to run. So, do we know their command? We find it out here. So this code here that we were using previously to deal with commands, that's going away. We're going to replace it with this eventually. So, we're going to move this in here, and then I'm going to pass in bot command, because I want to do this all as one thing. I want to make one method that gets all the active commands and that gets all the active cooldowns that we have. So let's go ahead and do this. Whoops. I forgot I don't have ReSharper installed right now. I was hoping that we would just be able to see IntelliCode as we were working. So I'm going to say if chat user dot is in this role. Imperial 2014, welcome, thank you for following. I hope that means you're enjoying DevChatter, at least a little bit. And we're going to go ahead and say mods and the streamer, if you are in this role or higher, we are just going to return an empty collection. So we are going to say new list, and this is what the type is going to be here. List of cooldown. So cooldown's not a type that exists yet, but what I'm thinking is a cooldown is going to be like, it's going to have specifics of what the cooldown is about. And you're missing out on knitting, yes. There is, I will say, there are some interesting sewing channels that I watch. Is this bot going to replace Nightbot? Root Guy, probably not. I wasn't intending on doing chat moderation with this one, so I leave Nightbot in there to do some of the protection from links and things like that. And yeah, it messes up sometimes, but I'd rather have it catch too many than, you know, let annoying links come through. I'm gonna have to take a guess here. Oh man, yeah, I apologize, but welcome, thanks for following, hopefully you're enjoying DevChatter. I don't have a good guess on pronouncing that name. Oh man, I would love to have a guess, but thank you for following, and I apologize for my, you know, inability to pronounce your name because I am an English-speaking American, and despite being able to speak a couple of foreign languages, I suck at pronouncing other names, and my accents are terrible. So you don't need to pass the command if you want to have cooldowns for all commands. Sushinator, I will, because certain ones are going to have different cooldown lengths, so I want to pass it in for that reason. It's also a way of identifying it. Glad to hear it, Imperial. I always like having people in here that enjoy code and want to chat about it. Propagated, yes, there is an IntelliCode preview. We actually have it installed, but I haven't been seeing the stuff pop up with it, so it is in here. Let's do this real quick. IntelliCode, because I do want to make sure, since we've got it on here, that we actually, you know, see some of it. Smarter intelligence, yeah, so when we use it, we should start to see things. So, don't know. Let's go ahead and make a couple of things, and we'll take a look if we start to see it anywhere. Let's see. Testing. Twitch's regex for link detection must be something like... Yeah, exactly, BitLaw. It's very simplistic. It thinks that a lot of things are link. Just use a string and then type dot. Oh, really? Alright, let's see what we get. So, we'll say foo. And then dot. Oh, wow, yeah, see, you can already see it. Yeah, IntelliCode suggestion based on this, yeah. But probably, like, length is a common one. Okay, cool. So, yeah, IntelliCode is in here. So, good. What do I think about hacking with a Raspberry Pi? You know, I don't actually know. I have not, as you probably guessed, I don't go around doing any hacking, really, of sorts. Although I do, whoops, hang on, let me link that. I do end up having to secure applications that I work on, so I do deal somewhat with security, but I am usually on the other side of that. Alright, so I also want to do that, so we're gonna go ahead and return here as well, but on this one we want this to be a variable, so I'm just gonna call that result for now, and we're gonna say var result, and yeah, we can improve the name later, but there is good enough. So, we'll figure out what we want to do with this. We're either just going to add to it as we go, or we might do some kind of expression to create it. We'll see what we get. Alright, so this is the concept here, is I want to be able to get the active cooldowns, which means a couple of things. we want to, so let's jump to that to-do comment. So we're saying check for global cooldown. So we want to get the global cooldowns, and then the other thing we want to do is get command-based cooldowns. So if we hit a global cooldown, we can just say, hey, you've been running too many commands. We don't even care about the first one. We're going to give you back your global cooldown that you hit. If not, we're going to give you back a command-based cooldown. So this would get all active cooldowns. We may not need to get all active cooldowns. This might just be get active cooldown, and we just send back one. So we'll have to see on that one. Alright, so we'll think about it. So for now we're returning back a collection, but I'm not 100% that we want a collection. We'll see. Alright, so this is the no cooldown state. That one is we are in a cooldown. Okay. So in order to get this, we need to call our. This is the global cooldown stuff right here. So I am going to go steal this code for a second, and just put it here and think about it. So when this code is here, we'll call this. Let's rename that just to shorten it a little bit. Rename that to global. Ooh, actually, I just realized global's not a great name. Okay. Chat user dot display name. UTC now. We don't care whether they're a mod anymore because we already checked that and bailed. So, right, we put that check here, so we're not applying any cooldowns to them if they're a mod. So mods are exempt from cooldowns. And then, so if we got any global cooldown, then we want to check that, and we want to return a new cooldown here. Yeah, I'm thinking we're not going to do a list. I think we're just going to return back a single cooldown object here. That's what it's starting to feel like to me. I don't know about you guys. But I think we just want to do this. We're going to return back the active cooldown. So get active cooldown. And then we may have to do like a no-op kind of cooldown or something like that in the case where there isn't one. So let's see. Result is that we're going to do this also. So we're no longer going to have the result variable. We're just going to return from multiple places. I don't mind return from multiple places. It's not the worst thing. So here's what we need to do. Our cooldown, I want to have a message on it. And I'm not a big on making that internal because I see no reason to make that internal. So I'm going to make a prop, and I'm going to make this a prop of type string, and we're going to call this message. So we may get a message back, and here's what I want to put in this message, is this. So we're going to go here, and we're going to say message equals that. There we go. And now that is the user display name. Then we get rid of that. Okay, what is going on in chat? Apparently they return a header with information about your limit, remaining requests, reset times. Oddly specific, you guys. Oddly specific. Yeah. Just a brief opinion question for Brendan, only if he has the time. I noticed that my main need for extensions like Resharper and CodeRush went away with Control Dot. I use the other features, but this is the one that closest to my heart. What about you? Sushinator, yeah, so when they added the Control Dot to Visual Studio, that got a lot of them, but some of the other ones are, so one of the ones that I became really, really enamored with, which So I can do this, and then it gets me my new local object, but it just doesn't do a lot of things as nicely. So for example, this made this type, and I wanted this to be a var, for example, by default, which it doesn't do, and various other things. It's not as good all the time about extracting methods, and it's also not as good about making suggestions for changes to your code. So it is still not as good at identifying, hey, yeah, you don't really need this, and stuff like that, which ReSharper gets me a lot of. Some of what I liked in CodeRush were some of the navigation pieces that were really cool. I was actually missing one of those. I liked the click on this and hit tab. So you can click on any symbol and hit tab, and it jumps you to the next instance of it in the source code. That was actually amazingly cool. I could not believe how useful that was, despite only using it for a little while. So I think there are a lot of those types of features that are really, really cool. But you're right. Yeah, thanks, Dylan. Be careful. I think Root Guy's an Emacs developer, so yeah, a lot of it comes down to preference there, Sushinator. So some of the things, I also like the test runner in ReSharper better than the other ones. But again, a lot of these things are preference and coding style. So at this point, I do not think it is absolutely necessary to run all these extensions, whereas in the past I would have said that it was 100% necessary to spend the extra money on ReSharper. Or CodeRush or JustCode or whatever it is you want to use. But then they added the control dot, and that gets a lot of things. Root Guy is correct, although that's funny because I actually used CodeRush before I used ReSharper. So I switched off of CodeRush to ReSharper. But yes, in a lot of cases, it's whatever you get used to. Okay, so is in this role or higher, return back the empty cooldown. And then in this one, which we're going to have to change that to be some kind of like no-op cooldown. I kind of want to make this be like a global cooldown or something. That'd be like a no-op cooldown, and then this one is probably, well, this one's either the no-op cooldown or it's the command-based cooldown. So let's make a slight adjustment. So this should, I think, work as is, because I don't think we changed how this works. See, Dylan trying to start up the war, the Vim versus Emacs war. And yeah, BitLaw, that is really the problem right now, is ReSharper is slowing things down more than it used to, even. So I'm not sure why it has gotten so much harder at that. It might be because both ReSharper and some more stuff in Visual Studio is running, so it just overwhelms it. Alright. So get usage by user subject to global cooldown. Okay. Then the next one I want to do is basically the same thing, except get by user display name. This one takes just a display name. It doesn't take in the time? That seems weird. Oh, because it was doing... Yeah, because it's not doing the purging trick. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I'm actually going to leave this exactly the same as the other one, and we're going to make the new one. So this is command cooldowns. So... whoops, yeah, command cooldown. Okay, here we go. Let's stop using global in these. No more global in there, no more global in there. Okay. Okay, that looks good. So I am gonna steal the code that we have in our base command to do this a little bit better. We don't have to learn Lisp to customize Vim. That is awesome. Hang on 1 second, everybody. Alright, sorry, I had to take a break there. It is important to stay hydrated while you stream, by the way. And Root Guy, no, I'm not sponsored by Pepsi yet, but if anybody wants to contact Pepsi, I will gladly, have a Pepsi sponsorship. So feel free. The Pepsi Man's actually a game that existed in the past. I don't know if you guys know this. Funny aside, Pepsi Man, is totally a thing. There is actually a Pepsi Man, game that I think I can get away with showing this much of it. So, yeah, seriously, it's a dude running away from a Pepsi can. So, there you go. Pretty good, huh? Kind of absurd. Yeah. Alright, so here's what we're gonna do. Rouser43, welcome. Thanks for following. Hopefully you enjoy DevChatter. Alright, so let's go ahead and pull up the base command, which is right here. Inside of our base command, we actually have our cooldown piece, so we're going to go ahead and take a look at that. The cooldown piece is already inside of this, and we want to try to yank that out and have that all in a central location that's dealing with cooldowns, so that we're not, having cooldowns at the level of the command handler and at the level of the command and all these different places. We want to get all that into one spot of let's check and see if there's a cooldown and handle that cooldown. We don't care what type of cooldown it is. And so that's sort of what we're going for here. Oh, sweet, yeah. Pepsi executive, I'm sure. And actually, yeah, I'm a tea drinker other than pop, so I drink this stuff and tea. Skobama, welcome. Thanks for following. Hopefully you enjoyed DevChatter. Can you write a virus using Emacs script? I have no idea. Oh, well, congratulations, Async Awake, Mr. Diet Coke Man. Outed as a Midwesterner. Yes, Propagated, I am absolutely outed as a Midwesterner. I referred to it as pop. It's soda pop, guys. It's soda pop. We can agree on that, right? It's soda pop. It's soda pop. If you wanted soda, you're just gonna get carbonated water. I don't want carbonated water. Why would I want that? I want flavored carbonated water. Thanks, Propagated. Yeah, see? We can have the tabs versus spaces, Vim versus Emacs, and pop versus soda. Good war in here, guys. Good war. Very nice. Oh, Bitlaw, you're drinking carbonated water right now. Well, there you go. Yeah, see? Use tabs for first indented spaces afterwards. I have seen that before. I'm not going to do that. What are my cats doing? Is it both cats? No. No. Just one cat being an idiot. I have no idea. Okay, so replace white space with poop emojis. Yeah, there you go. Alright, so here's what we want to do. Yes. Alright, so let's go in here. So this should have our cooldown in it. Time since password. So this looks like it. User can bypass cooldown. Is game running? There. Okay, so this was doing that. So in mine, in our cooldown tracking, oh, we haven't moved it to the cooldown tracker. It's still inside a command handler. It's gonna move. Obviously, this is going into that. Okay, so anyway, let's see, check for get active cooldown, attempt to run command. So let's take this and move it So I'm going to make this public first off. We're going to take this code and we are going to jump this over into our cooldown command tracker thing. And move it over there. Now it needs access to a couple of references. First off, it needs that model there. This is now calling this, so it doesn't need that. No longer are we calling something else, we are in it. Now back here in the command handler, we are going to call the where is it? Usage tracker. So we're going to say usage tracker dot get active cooldown. What? What? Didn't I just put it there? To me, it doesn't have it. It's right here. Get active cooldown. Like, seriously, it's right there. I don't know why I didn't find that. Let's see. Blueberry Tempest. Welcome. Hi. Hopefully you're having a good day. Usage tracker. That's this. Public that. What's it smoking? Yeah, you can. Or I can hit the bio command there, Blueberry. There you go. That's some generic stuff about me. I've been programming for a little while. I enjoy programming. It's fun. Yeah, so we've got people of varying... oh, right, it's not on the... Son of a... Derp-a-derp-a-der. So we all do silly stuff every once in a while. So here's my silly stuff for the day. Let's jump up here and add this, because it does help to have it on the interface. Let's go ahead and add that, and add that. And now it should build. Alright, there we go. Yeah, so there's an interesting concept that you guys sort of brought up here that I've been meaning to write a blog post about, and it is this idea of being self-taught, which I find an interesting one. I almost want to call it like, a developer's not self-taught, it's more like they're self-educated or self-learned, because, so if I say I'm self-taught, usually that means that I did not go to an actual formal setting where someone explained programming to me. But what that means is that I didn't have direction necessarily, but I was still gaining the information from other people. So I might read books, or read articles, or read blog posts, or read forums, and other things like that. And so that's kind of like I was taught by the community. So the term I'm planning on giving for, and I don't know if someone else has already used this, but I want to write a blog post about being community taught. Because I think that's what a lot of us are. Because I want to give a lot of credit to the development community, because we have such a strong community. I mean, for example, someone can show up here and they can learn a lot about development just watching the DevChatter channel and talking to the other people in chat. And I think that that's actually a good thing to acknowledge, is that, you know, we learn from the community. A lot of what I know is, you know, from other people. From other speakers at conferences, from other people that write articles, write blog posts. So, yes, exactly, Propagated. It's really, really easy to really get involved on your own now. Yep, exactly, Blueberry. Yep, that's the idea. Yeah, exactly. It's funny, because it's like, if you're self-taught, if you're really, really self-taught, then I think you sat down in a room and you were just programming against that compiler and you weren't even using the built-in documentation on the languages. So, let's see. The only thing missing for self-teaching online is the proper structured curriculum. Exactly, and so that's why I kind of say, like, it's more just community. It's like broad thing. Root guy, yeah. I think it'll be a while before we have too many programmers. When I started out, I only had a home computer and the manual, which contains how to program. The rest was main curiosity and creativity. Yeah, so one of the big things is all you've got is the documentation. You got to remember, some developer wrote that documentation so that you'd be able to use whatever programming language. Can we officially say that Keynote has passed the Turing test? Yes. I think there are a lot of things that could pass a Turing test there, Stacking. Okay. So, let's jump back into this code. So this now builds, which means that we are able to call and ask for active cooldowns from inside of the command handler. And then what we want to do is basically say, welcome, Blueberry Tempest. Thanks for following. Much appreciated. If anybody else is in here and enjoying the chat at all, the stream, anything about that, click the follow button. You'll get notified when we go live next, so you won't miss our next stream. Our next stream actually is going to be on Thursday, and it's going to be another one of our pair programming streams, so it should be a good one. Okay, so let's get rid of that. We no longer need that comment telling us where we left off and what we're doing next. And then I want to get rid of that code, because I don't think we need it anymore. And actually, I want to move this inside of our get active cooldowns code, because I think that makes sense. So we are going to basically, if we need to check for cooldowns, we are going to purge the list of cooldowns, and then we are going to look for global ones, which is what this is. So I kind of want to pull this into a method and say, like, if we've got any, but it's already basically a method. So this one has the concept of warning. I don't think we have that concept in the other one. I'm going to steal this code. We're going to say if, so we're going to say, put that there. I'm going to get rid of the comment, and then we're going to say, instead of the message, we're going to say this dot message. Prevent running the command if there was a cooldown. Okay. Fitzblitzer, welcome. Thanks for following. I wouldn't worry too much about Rukai, as always need for more skilled developers. Exactly. I wonder what codec Twitch uses for non-partner Twitch streams. For whatever reason, my Google Chrome, when watching transcoded streams. Yeah, I don't know. So, they're not super great with non-partners. Partner streams get all the best treatment and all the best processing and get, like, preferential treatment towards having different playback quality. So, like, right now you can't choose the quality setting that you want on DevChatter, so we're all pretty much stuck with what I'm sending it up as, which I think is 720p. And since I can't control what they're going to give me, I can't reliably get scaling, so you can't choose the one you want. I run 720 instead of 1080 because I want to make sure that people that need the lower quality stream can actually get it. So that's why we're running on that. Twitchloff. Yeah, so we are not yet, but Twitchloff, I am planning on putting some event-driven architecture into this project. We just weren't large enough for it yet. So I do want to start moving some of our projects towards a more DDD and even some event-driven stuff, probably a domain events concept. I don't know if you know about that, but the best answer I can give to any learning developers about what architecture and structure you should do in your project is always do the simplest one that works for you today. Don't try to put a complex architecture in place. What you want to do is use the one that works now, and then as you start to need a more complex architecture, that's when you put one in. So a lot of people make this mistake when they're programming, and they will say, oh yeah, I can build this super complicated architecture, let's do this. And then you end up with this really hard to maintain complex system that's on a pretty simple, that, you know, could have been implemented as a pretty simple solution. So, yeah, propagated. So I'm not a big fan of the term best practices. What I will usually tell you is, here's something that works for me, and, you know, or this is something that I use effectively, or this is something I've used effectively in the past. So there isn't like a best practice. That's why I like coding this way. It gives me these benefits, but there's these drawbacks. So with any complex architecture that we suggest building, there's always the drawback of some complexity, but it also frees you up in some other ways. So it depends on what you're trying to build, which one you want to choose. Let's take a look at what we got in chat. For partners, as I recall, you need to stream exclusively on Twitch and may not work for some other streamers. Sushinator, actually, for affiliate, so you don't have to be exclusive to Twitch, but you can't, like, dual stream. So if you're an affiliate even, Twitch does require that you give them exclusivity on anything you stream on Twitch. So for 24 hours. So that requirement is there for them even. So sure, but the whole point about lowering the accessibility of programming is to make the talent cheaper to attain. Kind of, Root Guy. Some of that is to remove the need of always having a developer. So some things is, that's the point of a CMS, for example, is you don't need a developer to build a website for you. Agree, in the last couple of years, the industry, the growth space, benchmarks are scary oppressive. When testing everything, you soon feel the pain of simple architecture. A lot of yes, exactly, Twitch Love. So one of the things that a lot of people make the mistake of when they're building up their architecture is a lot of people will pass it. Now, so here's a pro tip, guys. Something that you can run into a lot. There are two ways that I could call these things. So I wanna get everybody's attention here and mention something. Notice here in my purge expired user command cooldowns that it accepts the current time. So there's two ways that I could do this. I could either ask you to give me the time in order to purge this, or I could ask you to give me an iClock interface. So if you take a look, I have an iClock interface, and it has an implementation of system clock. So you could pass this in, and this is basically just a way of being able to test things that depend on time. So the two approaches, you can either pass in an interface and essentially mock it or fake it, or you can pass an instance of whatever it was. So for example, my method could accept a repository that it could use to go fetch the data from the database, or it could just accept the data. And so one of the problems that people run into is a lot of times they will over-depend on interfaces when all they needed was one specific value. And so what that means is when you go to test, you have to mock out a whole bunch of things that are just calling to get a single value. Whereas if you just took the value as a parameter, a lot of times it's easier. So for example, if my command handler has the iClock interface, for example, it doesn't, but if it did, I could have, the, private, read-only iClock, right? So if it had one of these in here, right, and it was getting this from the constructor or whatever, then when I call another method down here, I can just pass in the value that it gets me instead of giving it this clock. So that makes it simpler then to test. So there are a lot of cases where that kind of thing comes up. And so that's one of the problems people run into when they're building more complicated architectures, is they're a lot of times over-depending on interfaces and, essentially just, it's like redirecting things around, and so there's complex pathways going everywhere, and we call that spaghetti code, is often a way of describing that. Sushinator, cooldown also could have an isActive property which returns true or false based on an offset. There's really more than one way to do things based on the use case. Yeah, so I'm not thinking of an isActive. What I'm thinking here is, what I was thinking is this. Let's see. So, and I don't know exactly if this is the way that we want to do it or not. I was thinking that this might end up being a global cooldown, for example, which is a cooldown. Now maybe I pull that as an interface instead of a base class, for example. But that could be like an abstract class, and we could, give it message, right? Global cooldown. And then alternately, we could then do this one as a command cooldown. And then we could do a user command cooldown. And on a global cooldown, there's nothing special. On a command cooldown, we might have the ibot command. That we could have here. Command. Whoops. Prop. We could call this ibot command and call this the command. I can type, I promise you guys. I did learn that in school, I think. What is a global cooldown compared to a cooldown? If I missed something, okay, just yeah, Sushinator. So here's the concept. There are a few ways that you can hit a cooldown, and I think they need to get handled differently. So a global cooldown, and actually, that's a good point. I'm not going to call it global cooldown. I'm going to call it a user cooldown. So we're going to have a user cooldown, a command cooldown, and a user command cooldown. So here's the idea. So this one. Let's go ahead and put this on here. This cooldown indicates that a user has too recently run any command. This one is this cooldown indicates that a command has been run too recently by anyone. This cooldown indicates that this command has been run too recently by this user. Okay, so that makes it clearer. So user cooldown blocks a user for everything. A cooldown only for a specific command. Yes, exactly. So this one is one that every user would hit, because we might say this command, we want to limit how many times it's used. So on a lot of streams, there are commands that will trigger a noise or an animation or something to happen, and you don't want those happening all the time. So there's going to be a command cooldown for this. I feel like my current project at work is slightly over-engineered. We use Entity Framework, and all CRUD has been implemented with the generics through interfaces, which also have a service layer, which have their own interfaces. So I have dbset generic, which has an interface generic routed through a service generic. It has its own interfaces, which finally connects to a web API control. Bitlaw, yeah, that sounds a little. Sounds like it might be a little over-engineered. There are certain cases where some layers of abstraction are important. For example, in some cases, you want to have them because you've got a little bit of complexity with how you deal with your objects. But one of the challenges that people run into is they'll too often create services that do those kinds of things. And so that's where it gets a little bit messy. Although I don't mind having a repository layer over my entity framework. Not that entity framework's not powerful and very good. It's not that I'm going to move off of entity framework. It's just that I don't want too much about entity framework, and I worry about getting too close to my data model and knowing too much about it if I have EF closer to the code. So a lot of the restrictions that I put in there are to prevent me and other developers from making mistakes. So when people will comment, but that code makes it harder to do this, and I'm like, yes, it does, and that's intentional. And I put that in there because we want to control where the dependencies are, where we're accessing certain things. So That is the idea. So, okay. So we want to know what the command is here. They're all inheriting from the one that has a message. So this one, I don't think we need anything special for that. These ones have the command, so you know what? Do we put it on everyone? Do we say what was the command they attempted to run? Guess it doesn't matter. Okay, so there we go. I prefer interfaces over abstract classes. The subclassing just makes me confused. Yeah, so yeah, it's actually a good point. So this one doesn't technically need it. So we could do this, for example, and make this an interface. Get rid of the public. Duh. There we go. And we could have this set, but I really don't want to. So the challenge with this is then each one does need to actually, does need to implement it if we want to do this. So they have to do that. So that'd be the challenge. So I'm actually going to put this back because I like that better. I don't know, I know dry is good practice, but I feel like we spend too much time writing all the generics up through interfaces and inject compared to if we just implemented a generic DB set and implemented each class on its own. It's kind of funny. Are part of growing as a developer. Yes, so you're going to run into them all over the place, so it's also a good idea to actually know how to work in them. I struggle with when to pass the data model and when to define something new like a DTO to move between layers. So propagated, the easy answer to that one is I do highly recommend using multiple models. And models, by this case, I do mean, page models, view models, data models, DTOs, whatever you want to call them. And part of the reason why I suggest that is, so one of the big ones is this. If you're going to receive data from a source that's not your own, so for example, if I'm going to receive data from an MVC page or something like that, I have I have a controller, and someone's going to post data up to my controller. I want to use a view model for that, and the reason why is with a view model, I can restrict and control exactly what they can send me. So, for example, someone can't send me, code that they're not supposed to be able to change. So, for example, maybe someone's got some status indicator, and, they could, flip their status indicator when they post the data. Yeah, it wasn't exactly. Yes, Sushinator, precisely. Don't trust user input, which means in your model, you don't want to be using the actual domain model of your code. You want to use a view model, which is specific to what that user was allowed to send you. And so that's sort of the way it works. So the same thing goes for an API. So if you use a web API controller, I recommend using DTOs for everything you receive in your web API. And by that same token, what you send down to a user, a lot of times your data model's not all that useful. It's good for you in maintaining your business logic and working with it, but it's not as useful for the person on the UI. So that's why I recommend using a view model for that, or a DTO, depending on whether it's an API or, say, just a regular MVC controller. And that naming is just more convention than anything else, because effectively they are going to be the same thing in this case. So I do highly recommend it. And I know some people that actually use a different model in their domain logic. So their code inside their program is one model, and the one they store to the database is actually a different one, which is a strange concept I haven't tried yet. So I can't speak to that one. Usually what I use internal to my project is kind of closely modeled at least, and I maybe just have an aggregate that does some work for me. But fully changing it is not what I'm used to doing. So I don't know if there's a bad side effect to that or not. Propagated, that makes a lot of sense. I'm dealing with a graph object full of nodes that inherited from the base node, and we struggle with the correct deserialization whenever we add a new node and deploy. Yeah. But yeah, that's good, Bitlo. I'm glad you trust all your user input. Sure, that's safe. Okay, so user cooldown, man cooldown, yeah, okay, cool. So we're going to use those for now. Let's go take a look at this. So we can no longer do this one. So this is a user cooldown. Wait, this is the one that's not one. It's a good question then. Do I make it so that there's... How do we want to do a no-op one, you think, then? No cooldown. I'm not sure how we want to no-op this one. That's a good question. Because I don't want to return back null, because I don't really like the idea of returning back a null here. I like the no-op concept, but... Okay, so how do you translate a deserialized data, deserialized view model into your DTO? Well, you're either going to use a view model or a DTO there propagated. So it's going to be one or the other. That's basically two names for probably what's the same object there. And you do your serialization and deserialization with your DTO object. And then when you want to take that and put that into your model object that you use within your program, if it requires custom logic, you can do that, or you can use something like AutoMapper, which does a lot of that work. But yes, as Sushinator mentions, one of the problems that you run into is that you end up with versioning, which you can version DTOs, but you don't necessarily want to version your data models. And what you end up with when you do that is your DTO gets versioned and you don't have to maintain full sets of your DTOs. All that you have to do is adjust the logic for your mapping. So mapping from a DTO object that you were using in that API to the current version of the model. And welcome, Summer. Nice to see you here. Yeah, stream's been going for just shy of 2 hours now. And yeah, propagated. Take a look at AutoMapper. And someone earlier mentioned Inject, which, funny thing. So, an Inject was actually originally built in the really close to here, actually, within like 10 miles of where I live is where the original Inject was built. At least one of the primary guys on it, Nate Kohari. One of my colleagues is integrating with a third-party vendor, and they don't have a vendor API. They gave him their own front-end API, which means his code will break every time they adjust. Oh, yeah, BitLaw. So, yeah, you never want to rely on the front-end API because the developers are going to, as they change their website, they're going to change that. And if they don't have an API that's dedicated for vendors to connect to, they're going to just version it and change it all the time, and you're just going to get screwed every time they do an update. Okay. So we're going to do a no cooldown for that one. That's going to be our no op cooldown. This one is, so global we change to a user cooldown. So we're going to say user cooldown. Then this one is check for a command-based cooldown. So I think this one was... not that user, a command cooldown. I think we were going to do this one. And we were not yet using the user command cooldown. So we're going to do that. So there's no cooldown in that case, and then command cooldown in that case. Watching music and pushes. Yeah, I agree, guys. Okay, so we got that built. We need to change this one. So that one's right, but this one's still wrong because this is still using the old way of doing things. Twitchloft tried service stack. Super simple, removes all the fluff you have to go through. But it's a bit of. I've heard of that before, but I don't think I've looked into it. Service stack. What are we talking about here, Twitchloft? Because I don't remember. It sounds familiar, but I don't remember what it does. You want to show me your, like, the way you work thing? Service stack, what do you got? Yeah, but I want to see your code. Where's your code? Where's the link to the code? Service stack, I'll dig into it later. Okay, so here's what I want to take a look at. So we have get usages by users subject to global cooldown. So this is the user cooldown. So get usages by users subject to cooldown. So I want to rename to that because we're not calling it global anymore, and that shortens it a little bit. So we're gonna adjust to that name, and then I want to get rid of the word global in here also. So is within global cooldown. Oh, that's fine. Oh, Fritz is going live soon, huh? Yeah. That'll be a fun one. We can yell at him, and make. So let me do this. Fritz, let's all wear hats. Okay. Is within the global cooldown. We're gonna do that. Get usages by users subject to that. Get active cooldown. So record usage. Get by user display name. So this is anything that's still in the list that has not been purged. Purge user command cooldowns. So this one purges them once we've passed the amount of time for that cooldown. Okay. So I think this is user command cooldown. Is what this one is. So I think this is the one that comes down here. Now what I don't get is why it isn't using a UTC offset. Oh, because we're doing it on the purge. That's why. So because it's if there are any left. Okay, so if there are any, we don't need to warn about those, I don't think. We just want to say if it was not null and we have any, then do that. Okay, still working on my Founder Syndrome Mitigator. I'm middle manager. At least everyone visible should wear hats. Yes. Hang on. I have a hat over here. I'm actually not gonna put on a hat, guys. I can't. You know. I have had hats over here before. So at some point, I will probably wear a hat on stream. Sad thing is, I think yesterday was the day that I went and I wore a hat on stream, and that was when I had my webcam trouble at the beginning. So maybe that was Saturday, I don't remember. But either way, I was like, oh yeah, it must have been Saturday because I was gonna make fun of Fritz and I was gonna be wearing a hat and I was gonna do a Fritz impression whenever the Fritz auto host came in. So that was what my plan was. So okay. So we have that. So we have user cooldown, command cooldown, and I don't want to use this message, this whoa DevChatter, slow down there, cowboy. I want to adjust a little bit about how this one works, so that we can identify that this is definitely the user cooldown. So let's take a look at base command because it's running it. So we want this one. So we're going to bring this over here. Time remaining is Oh, yeah, see, that was cooldown has a meaning over here. That's a time span named cooldown from the command. So that is, where is the command? Bot command. So we're going to say bot command.cooldown. And time passed since invoke. Where did that come from? You have to put on a beard to do a proper impression. Hey, I've had a beard before. I'm not a big fan of having a beard, to be honest. It's a pain in the rear. Heck, I've had long hair before. I've had hair long enough that it would not be on this webcam. If that tells you how long my hair's been before. That's been a while, though. Alright, so cooldown. Time passed since invoke, so... Time command last invoked. Where did this come from? Where did this get set? This is on the command. So I want to make this be... This needs to be calculable. In fact, this needs to be calculable. So we're going to do this. This needs to be a method, which, will it let me do this? Extract method. Get time cooldown time remaining. This is for command cooldown, right? Not the user command cooldown. Yeah, okay. And actually, that reminds me, did we get by user display name? No. We want to do get by command, so I'm gonna have to change that. We're doing the wrong one. Who isn't a big fan of the beard? You or your significant other? Sushinator? So she doesn't mind the beard, actually. I'm the one that minds the beard. Beard's kind of a pain in the rear. You get stuff stuck in your beard and, you know, like other things. So that, I'm also smart enough. I have a 5-month-old right now. And I can tell you, I do not want a small person grabbing and pulling on a beard. That sounds less than fun. I don't know about you, but that doesn't sound fun to me. Get cooldown time remaining. Okay. So now we have that, and what does this take in? Time passed since invoke. Where did that come from? That came from here, which that can just come in. Right there. Bar time passed since invoke equals this. It's going to be a time span. And we're going to get rid of we're going to no longer require that you pass that in. We're just going to calculate that for you. So we don't need to pass that anymore. Which means that sounds like a lot of fun if you are the 5-month-old person. Yeah, Sushinator, I'm not the 5-month-old person. And thank you. Much appreciated. Yeah, we love the little guy. He is, like, I have no idea how that baby is as cute as he is. It must be his mother, because, I mean, I don't think I'm ugly, but damn, that kid is, like, you know, he's one of those ones that's, like, every photo of him is somehow, like, super smiley and happy, and he's looking at the camera, and I'm like, I don't know how that is even possible. Babies aren't supposed, you know, like, are they supposed to be able to do that? I don't know. So, anyway, so let's go ahead and... So I don't mind the fact that we're still using that variable. I think that one still adds clarity, but I like this piece here. And actually, that is that. So that's this. So really, we should put this code right there. Wait, time remaining is using time passed since invoke, time, cooldown time, cooldown. We could really use this and just say, like, is it positive or something. So, anyway, that code's probably disappearing anyway, so I don't mind that much. Let's go over here. So time passed since invoke, time remaining. So get cooldown time remaining. I put the whole thing in there, huh? Okay. Okay, what? Oh, it's not on the interface. That's gonna be a problem. Because I'm gonna need to pull that up into the interface. Can this do it? Nope. Alright, we'll put this on the interface. And then we are gonna have to add it to the simple command as well. Now I'm hoping that we can get rid of the cooldown from there by putting the pieces that actually use it. Get cooldown time remaining. Which actually, I realize I probably shouldn't do this one. While we're in here and making the interface, that probably shouldn't be a string. This should be whatever type this is now. So time span? Yep, time span. Time span, and now when we call it up here, we can do that. So say .to expanding string there. And then that's a little bit better. So now when I go over to the ibot command, this is going to return back a time span, which makes way more sense. So then down in our tracker, we're going to get this, and we're going to say to expanding string here. And then that makes that all much, much nicer. So that is pretty clear now. As I said, we don't want to do this get by display name. We're going to want to do that get by command instead, but we'll write that in a second. So that's cooldown remaining. We don't want to say the command. We want to use the name of it because we have it. So we're going to say bot command dot primary command text the blank. Actually, I'm going to do this. So I don't want to trigger another bot to run it. So we're going to start with an open quote. So we're going to say. So we're going to say that command. You say that is currently on cooldown. Remaining time that. Okay, there we go. So that is the command level cooldown. And do we need so much? Do we need to see so much of the output window? You can see that behind my head? I thought I was covering like all of it. Hang on, let me just block more of that. Is that better? We're blocking. You don't want to see that window? I got it. I got you covered, man. We'll block out as much of that output window as we can there. And actually, the funny thing is, you guys don't see the properties window at all. Luckily, I don't ever use the properties window in Visual Studio. Yeah, I want to see more code. Code. Is this enough code on screen? We can see like 5 lines at once. This is fantastic. All right. So that is currently on cooldown. Remaining time there. Okay, cool. So this is our message. So we're going to get rid of whoa there, cowboy. Replace it with that. Which actually, I'm just going to put this in here. We're going to inline that. That was nice. There you go. Message equals this. Curly's on their own lines, please. So return that thing, and then no cooldown there. Remove the extra line. Whoops. Don't want to leave the spaces there. Whoa, slow down. That's mentioning that we did warnings for those. Okay, so we did get by user display name, but that's not what we want to do. We want to say get by command. So we want to do the one that doesn't check user display name. We want to do the one that checks by command. So we're going to do this. Whoops. Command. And now we need to do the... We're going to leave it to do here. Check for user command cooldown needed. So we're going to leave that to do there. I want to see where we're going to... Please show only... Yes, guys, exactly. Twitchloff, question on the does not equal null. Do you mean putting it like... Do you mean doing this? Twitchloff? Because if you did this, then you'd have to do like... You could do this, for example. Right, or something? What are you thinking there? Either way, let me jump to this because we don't have that one yet. Get by user display name. There we go. Get by command. ibot command. Command. Okay, where x dot command used equals command. Okay, Twitchluff, that's fine. I will ignore your comment. No problem. We all have those. And see, Sushinator? Fritz hasn't even started yet, so I don't know what you're talking about. Alright, so get by command, command use, command. What are we purging based on? We are purging user command usages. We are doing that. Command cooldowns. So these are command cooldowns. We don't really have... So the question is whether a user cooldown and a command cooldown are any different right now, which right now we're putting it in by command, and we're not really specifying whether that's the command for that user or just the restriction in general on it. You know, one thing I don't enjoy currently, setting up new projects with Angular. It's such a chore, get Webpack running and integrating it all. Yeah. Setting up new projects is always a pain in the rear, especially when they reference JavaScript anything. Always a pain in the rear. Okay, so our purge is doing it based on command. So this to-do comment seems perfect to me because we really don't support it yet. So what I want to do is I want to... is this just referenced in a... No, not get by command. I meant this one. So I think we can actually get rid of this. I don't think that's actually needed on the interface. And get usages by user subject to change. Is this just all tests? Yeah, okay. So this is tests that are using it, which they don't need to call this one. They call the implementation, not the interface. So... Yeah, Sushinator. Keep in mind, he's at a live event, so it'll be tough for him to worry about that timing. I have a list extension I use. German. Someone's German? You got that someone was German based on some typo somewhere? Okay, anyway. Sprechen Sie Deutsch. Oh, the ist. Yeah. Yeah, I got it now. I got it. Ist. This is the one we knew we were going to hit, which was get cooldown time remaining. Where's the base commands? Get cooldown time remaining. We're going to go ahead and put this one in here. There we go. Yeah, Sushinator. Yeah, that's what, when the bot goes offline, that's when you can't do the commands anymore, guys. Yeah, there you go. Alright, there we go. Got that running. Let's go ahead and get a commit on this. So this is move cooldown logic into cooldown tracker. Okay. There we go. Alright, so now when this gets called and we say get active cooldowns, this should return back to here. And then we want to say, I'm not even sure what to do with this one, to be honest. So here's the challenge. I want to return if this was a no-op, if this was anything but a no-op one. So, but I sort of want to handle them differently. Prevent running the command if there's a cooldown. Oh, we have a Hangman game going. There we go, it ends in E. So I kind of want to reverse this. Can this reverse this? No, because I don't like this code being over so far. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to take this code, move it up to here. We're going to flip this logic here. I'm going to return if it is null. So we're just going to bail on that if we're null. That way we're not indented over quite as far. We're going to short circuit there. And then this, I want to extract into a method. This method is going to be called do the thing until I come up with a better name for it. Oh, that's funny. Hangman is currently on cooldown. RIP. Yeah. See, we're not quite done with this yet. So that's the weird part. So for anybody that's that's kind of new here, we are running on the live code. So like as we make changes, we get weirdness. So like there gonna be stuff like this is not a released version. This is not the dev branch. This is not the dev branch. This is not even it's not the master branch. Brendan HM should not be a cooldown command. Oh, give me a break. Yeah, no. It shouldn't be triggering it because we're not really in that piece. So there's a concept Sushinator that we need to get in there, which is which I will show you in a little bit. The base command has an exception for this. There is a bypass on the cooldown if we're in a running game. So we're gonna get that covered. This is a work in progress. That's why it's not blocking us yet. So let's go ahead and do this. Game is running. So. Yeah, but it triggered a couple of it triggered before that async awake. So there were definitely some instances before that where it was triggering the cooldown. Alright, so let's take a look in here. So I made a silly method that was something along the lines of do the thing. There it is. Now what did this actually do? Attempt to run the command and record the usage. We're gonna need to figure that one out. Oh, wow, Sushinator, that's a pretty bad delay. Is everybody else having a bad delay today? I assume we're still on low latency mode, but I did not confirm that. So, if we're not still on low latency mode, I would love to know that and fix it. So Twitch added a low latency mode, which is basically a way for me to get you guys a better experience, so you're closer. It's worse today, but not what they're describing. Okay, Propagated. So it might just be that it's bad for them, but not bad overall for everybody. So either way, hopefully that's not a problem. Low latency. Okay, I was just confirming that I'm still on low latency mode, which I am. Worse than last stream, but not terrible. Okay, 5 seconds. Okay, that's not bad. Oh yeah. So if you watch a stream for a while, every time you get a pinwheel, if it buffers in any way, you end up having more of a delay. So that's about all I can say about that. Once you get that, like, you can refresh to get rid of it though. So. And yes, there's variants based on ISP and whether or not you're running on Wi-Fi and if you're on an app. Yeah, Sushinator, if you do an F5, that ought to fix it. Okay, attempt to run the command. We're going to record the usage and do that. So call it do the thing. Yeah, do the thing's fine for now. I'll fix it later. Okay, Control R and 4 seconds. So you saved a second. Oh, and Sushinator's down to 5 seconds. That's much better than like 20 seconds. Okay, so here's what we want to do. So we're going to send the message, and now I'm going to do something horrible right here. I'm going to switch for now. We're going to switch on, and please don't kill me for the switch. We'll get it later. We'll nice it up later, guys. Just let me get away with, like, iterative development here for a second. Case where cooldown is it is a no cooldown break. What is it? Is it, man, why am I not remembering the syntax right now? There it is. That's the syntax I was going for. Not a vase, a case. And this is user cooldown. You cool. Excuse me. Sorry, guys. Didn't manage to get the mute button pressed. Tried. We're going to put a break in each one of these now. So this is user command cooldown, and this is command cooldown. So this will be user command cooldown. Command cooldown. And user cool down. Okay. Can the bot track our latency somehow? Would be a cool stat. I don't know how that would work, actually. But Brendan knew I am an Amazon Prime subscriber. I wonder what else he knows. Data privacy and all. It's actually fun hacking Android using. Yes, AJ Ukraine. I know. We're gonna, as I said, we're gonna nice it up later. Don't kill me. I said don't kill me. We're just putting it in here for now. This is not the worst thing you've ever written. It's not the worst thing I've ever written. Heck, I've written Java before. Sorry I had to, guys. Yeah, I was a kid. Yeah, thank you. See? I was doing my Kappa impression there. Much appreciated, guys. Alright, let's see. So, user cooldown, so... For this one, so I'm just putting it in here like this for now, but we're going to nice it up a little bit later. Yeah, thank you, AJ Ukraine. So we're going to say chat client... Oh, whoops, don't get rid of the break. We're going to say chat client dot send message, and it's going to be command cooldown dot message. And then for the user one, we're going to say chat client dot send direct message, and we're going to say user cooldown and message. Oh, whoops, yep, username, sorry. E.chat user. Although realistically, I should pull that off of this, to be honest. We'll fix that later. Thinking about that. Boom! No, just putting some results in the chat. Funkmaster Jeff, what was the boom about? Was it about the Java comment? Brendan taught about my previous question about the data, but it was in fact a serious one. I know, not really common for me. Sushinator, what question about the data? You talking about the question where we were talking about DTOs and such? I don't know which question you're talking about that I answered. Jammy. Oh, Funkmaster F, if you refresh, there will be less of a delay. You just have to reload for that. So user cooldown, I think is going to be a direct message also. Whoops, e.chat user display name, and then user command cooled. Whoops, this is called user cooldown. User cooldown dot message. There we go. Okay. So I can already see some of the polymorphism that we can actually use to make that a little bit better. Oh yeah, yeah. So I do get, so when you subscribe to the channel, I do get informed what type of subscription it is. So it tells me whether it's a Twitch Prime, which is like the the free one, as people say, or the regular one. So, yeah, that's basically all that. That's all that they really say is it'll say that it was a Prime subscription, or they'll say like Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3. So that's what they let me know. So the other funny thing is that everybody knows that the weird thing on Twitch, and it does this with me too. Like when I'm in chat. Here, take a look. So on that one, because I've cheered before, I guess I did a cheer 1 once in here. So, but either way, you see everybody that has that Twitch Prime crown, they basically tell all the Twitch streamers who in the chat has a Twitch Prime account, which means that they it's kind of like telling the Twitch person, it's like, oh hey, this person potentially has a free subscription they could send to you. So it's kind of a weird concept. It's very strange. Okay. Oh, Sushinator, you're not a pain in the rear, don't worry about it. AJ Ukraine, you tried Code Rush, and you were slower than Resharper for... of a go-to anything. Oh, that's weird, AG Ukraine. I didn't actually run into that problem. It was really fast on my end and wasn't slowing things down. I wonder if it's the type of solution you're running in. So, actually, I would then ask, were you running like CodeRush Ultimate or whatever it's called, or were you running the one that is an extension, the Roslyn one, that's in the tools extensions? So that would be the question I would have there also. Okay. So for get active cooldowns, we need to put in the code that was in the base command that was doing this game bypassing stuff. So I want to have a base command. So let's go to base command. Actually, before we do that, I'm going to commit, and then I'm going to go add that. Adding ugly switch for cooldown messaging. Maybe I should have said temporary also. The Roslyn one, and the solution's like 40 projects, about 20,000 lines of code. Huh. Yeah, not sure there, AG Ukraine. Is Fritz about to start up there? Yeah, I'm planning on ending soon anyway, so we won't actually, that won't matter. That's cool. We will probably, there's a good chance that we will, host Fritz before the end of the stream. But either way, let's keep writing this. We're going to make this work, and then we'll jump over there. So this code right here, we want to do this. So we want to get active cooldowns. We already put in our two references. We want to go to this one. So at the beginning of this, you'll notice that we already did a if the user's in the role, get out of it. The other option that we want to bail on this is active game. So bot command is active game is what I want to put on here. So that's where I want to put that. So we are going to make this a method on that interface. And then once we do that, so this build is going to fail here. We're going to go fix it. Funkmaster F, have a great one, and we will see you on Thursday. So on Thursday is our next stream, by the way. We're going to keep finishing up this code, but that is a good thing to mention. So let's go ahead and implement this interface here on the base command. And isActiveGame is basically going to be this code here. So we're going to grab that, we're going to toss it right there, and then we are going to say if this is game command and game command is running. And I am going to return this. Done. If this is a game command and the game command.game is running. There we go. So there is our isActiveGame method. And now when we check out the simple command one, it's even easier, and you'll see why here in a second. So when I implement this one, it's super easy because I just come down here and I say false. Done. So there we go. Yeah, I think maybe there's some workaround already. Yeah, it could be. I don't actually know for certain on that one, but you haven't really used IntelliCode today. Yeah, there wasn't. So like, it's not even coming up enough. So that's the annoying part there, Sushinator. You'd think it would be more useful, but it really just doesn't end up happening. So we just don't even seem to run into it. Oh, all right, let me recycle the bot real quickly. So we're gonna go ahead and kill it. So we're gonna run this again, and there we go. Bot's coming back up. And now we're able to check isActiveGame. So that lets us get away with this. So now we can say if we're either a mod or it's an active game, no cooldown. So now that issue that you guys are running into where we did the Hangman game, so I'm going to start one up. everybody go ahead and try the Hangman game real quickly. I want to see if you start getting messages about the Hangman game being on cooldown or not. Because I'm wondering if that's already gone away. This is not the word. Yeah, propagated. You need one letter. One letter at a time. We have something that ends in O? I don't know what that is. I mean, I'm sure I'm going to know when we finish it, but Async Awake, we need someone other than you. Yeah, so AJ Ukraine, guess a letter, or someone else guess a letter, but Async Awake shouldn't be testing it because he's a mod and will bypass the cooldown anyway. Okay, yeah, so yeah, you guys are not getting a cooldown, so that's perfect. So we fixed that bug. So the bug that we had before is gone, it looks like, unless you guys are getting messages in your chat telling you that, like if you're getting whispers telling you that it's got a cooldown, then that's a problem. What is that word? I don't know what that word is. Oh, Visual Studio. Ah! Oh, yeah, there we go. That was good. Visual Studio. Sorry, guys. You did not get that one. Okay, so adding is active game. Check. So we're going to do that. Okay, so we now check if it's an active game. Let's take a look at base command one more time before we wrap this up for the day. So we're doing this check. And then we checked whether or not they could, if it's an active game, we checked whether they could bypass, and we checked whether the cooldown is active. So I think that's right. I believe now we can actually get all of this, and then we don't even have to worry about it because we're not even calling this, so then commands don't really know about their cooldowns at all. So it would simplify down to that. Which then makes us wonder if we even still need the process and handle command as being separate things, but maybe, who knows. Oh, what is this? Whoa. Because we don't have Hangman is currently on cooldown. Yeah, you can't start up a Hangman. Was he about to show his credentials? I was? When was I going to show my credentials? Oh, yeah, summer. But it's on cooldown right now. So it should be, because the game's not going. Because we finished the previous one. We failed to get Visual Studio, so looks like it worked. Okay, cool. So remove cooldown code from base command. Now we're going to need to do the same thing on simple command, but I think that is something we should do next time. So I want to give everybody a heads up. If you're new here, our schedule's down below. DevChatter, we stream Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Monday and Tuesday are at 2 p.m. my time, and Thursday is 2 hours early, and Saturday is 1 hour early. So if you want to check out our schedule and you want it in your time zone, just go ahead and use the schedule command and put in your UTC offset. So I am in Eastern time zone in the United States, which means I'm at UTC -4. So the stream starts at 2 p.m. If you are at UTC, or you can do your own conversion from that, you could, for example, just take a look at this, and it's at 6 p.m. UTC. So for anybody that is in Europe, our stream happens in the evening, and if you are in the United States, our stream happens during the day. If you are interested in checking out any of the code that we do here, all of it gets pushed out to GitHub. So github.com/devchatter, that is all open and public, and you can take a look at it. And you are welcome to leave issues, feature requests, anything you want on the GitHub. And thank you for the follow, much appreciated. And I wanted to mention that if you want to keep talking with us, you can hop into our Discord. So that is actually a chat application that a lot of us use, and we actually discuss code in there. So if you want to talk with any of the other dev chatters and keep this conversation going, you can join our Discord to do that. And other than that, What else do we want to mention? We're listening to music from Relax Daily, and I wanted to make sure that I thanked C# Fritz for the host that he got us today. So he hosted us in the beginning of the stream with an auto host, and then I also want to thank Funkmaster F and Sushinator for their Twitch Prime subscriptions. So keep in mind, if you have Amazon Prime or Twitch Prime or whatever you've got, if you link your Amazon and your Twitch account, you get a free subscription to your favorite Twitch channel. So if this is your favorite Twitch channel, feel free to give us a subscription. And if it's not mine, well, give it to someone, because it's a waste if you don't. Irish, welcome. I am just wrapping up here. So our next stream will be in 2 days on Thursday. And it will be, 24:40 minus 3 hours. So it'd be 45 hours from now-ish, something like that. So set your clocks. Don't miss the next DevChatter. It will be a good one. We will be doing pair programming, so expect to see a face up in that top corner up there. In fact, it will be one of our mods. Yeah. Hopefully everybody enjoyed everything we built today. And we are going to host C# Fritz today. So if you are here to see some C# code, don't worry. We will see some more C# code if you stick around and watch C# Fritz's channel. So it'll be a good one. And Async Awake is correct. You can check out YouTube to see the archives of our old stuff, or check the videos section on Twitch.